So the Valentine's Day pre-release event has gone live over here on the NA version of the game, and it's bringing back most of the old Valentine's Day servants that you can go summon for right now. And I know a lot of you are probably wondering, is this banner worth summoning on? And you know what? That's what I'm here for. I'm going to break down each of these units and talk about whether or not they're good enough to go for, or maybe you should avoid them. Obviously, if any one of these servants is your supreme waifu and you'd have more fun playing the game with your waifu on your account, by all means, don't let me or anybody else stop you from summoning on this banner, because even though I would suggest that a lot of people save for summer, because summer is where a lot of the power this year is going to be concentrated, really the selling point for 2024 on NA as a whole is just a lot of the really good supports are coming back. So realistically, if you're looking at this year and you already have most of the good supports, or you already have, say, your Koyenskaya, your Oberons, maybe even your Castorias, you can kind of afford to just summon for whoever you want this year. Because when your account is already that set up, you've already got the supports, you can kind of just start using whoever you want. Although, while this is mainly going to be a video talking about the banner, please do not forget to go do the missions. The missions are very easy and they give you very strong items. Something that I think is very crazy they're giving out is extra teapots. They also do give you one of the Grail Lanterns, the things that allow you to go from Bond 10 to Bond 11, and further unlock your Bond, which gives you 30 Saint Quartz per Bond level. So getting the teapots that can help you level up those Bonds, and then getting a free Lantern is going to be very, very strong. Don't forget to go pick those up. Do not forget to go do your missions, because it is just kind of nice to get a couple of little items, especially the teapots. But let us start out with the first unit that's going to be going on Raid Up, and what I would probably say is going to be the most high value unit going on Raid Up, that being Nero Bride. And the reason I say that is that Nero Bride not only doubles as being a pretty decent DPS, I don't think she's the most insane arts DPS we have out there, especially because we do have the Dio Scurry twins that as a single target arts unit, especially an Art Saber, I think they are quite better than Nero Bride. And then even the Trunk Sisters, I think, can kind of do a bit better of a job being a DPS than Nero Bride can be. They're not all that bad. But even still, Nero Bride has enough power to get the job done. I mean, if you're going to use her as the DPS, she has a heal, which is something that Castoria does not provide, and I'm assuming you're probably just going to be bringing double Castoria. I've tried to shill for Tamamo because, she brings healing on both skill 3 and her NP, but nobody listens to me. So you know what? It's a plus that she has the healing, plus gives herself defense, gives herself a huge attack buff, a battery, NP gain, and a Sky Attribute power mod. It's all just very, very strong stuff that she's going to be giving herself, and she just essentially will go Super Saiyan 3 for 3 turns and just lay the smackdown on somebody. But where the value of Nero Bride is her ability to not only just be the DPS, but also help you out in different setups where she can turn into a pseudo support, because all of her buffs are targetable. So if you want Nero Bride to kind of be your DPS, you can still give her the attack buff, but maybe you really need your Castoria or your Tamamo. If you're, really based and want to use Tamamo, you can give her the battery and the NP gain buff to maybe help her get to her NP a little bit easier to help you get your skills back. Or maybe your Castoria is leaking a little bit and can use a bit of a heal. You can take that heal buff that she has and throw it over to your Castoria and kind of use her as a utility DPS, because yeah, sure, you might give the Sky Power mod to somebody else, but at the very least, that person you gave it to is still getting the healing and the defense, and you'll get the Sky Attribute Power mod back later. And it's not going to be relevant in all the fights. So say you're fighting a Man Attribute person, it doesn't really matter that you give away the Sky Attribute Power mod. You're still healing and giving extra defense to one of your supports or maybe another DPS. And I find that to be very, very strong. Nero Bride is just a very flexible unit that even to this day, just because they decided to simply have all of her skills be targetable, as they continue to buff her, she just gets better and better. The only thing that I think she's really lacking is probably a buff to the NP in some type of way. I would like the NP to get some buff in the future that kind of furthers her support, because right now the NP is kind of just a big bungler attack thing, which is fine. It does lower the enemy's defense, which technically is supporting the damage you're doing, but I would rather it maybe drop stars or maybe charge the party's NP, something like that to give her further utility. I think that'd be very cool. The next unit that's going to go on Raid Up is going to be MHX Alter, and this is another unit that I think does compete with Nero Bride, that if you're going to summon for one of these units, it's got to be one of these two if you're looking for just how good they are. She is a single target quick berserker, which I know, quick, that's the trigger word. Nobody likes quick units, but don't worry, quick single targets, I promise, are way better than the quick AoEs. They're not competing as loopers, they're competing as DPSs, and a lot of the quick DPSs are insanely good. Look at MHX Alter herself over here. First of all, she kind of just eviscerates all the sabers, which, as we talked about with Masashi a couple of days ago, that is just a good gimmick to just have an entire class on lockdown when you are a berserker is really, really good. But then they gave her the good power mod as well, so now she's not only really good against sabers, good sabers, you know, rip bozo is all I gotta say to those guys. But then any other good person you encounter, she's just going to rip them apart. And her skills are very, very simple. The one side, you know, kind of bad thing for her is that she doesn't really have any survivability, but she's pretty much built around, I'm just going to eviscerate the enemy. You know, she just gives herself attack, she lowers people's star weight so she can absorb the stars herself, she gives herself a quick buff, and then gives herself a little bit of crit damage. Not the most insane crit damage, but she at least gives herself some. And because she has a buffed NP, even if the enemy's not a saber or they're not good, they're still going to get smacked. So Nero Bride is if you want a bit more of a technical DPS, you know, they got that technique in there to give to the party. MHX Alter is just if you want to just lay the Monday night smackdown on somebody and you do not want them getting up, because she will eviscerate them. Although keep in mind her survivability is not the craziest because she really just kind of has the heal and that's about it. So make sure you kind of babysit her a little bit, or just at least plan to take out the enemy in 2 to 3 turns, which isn't all that hard when you have so much power concentrated in one servant. Then we have the other 3. The next one that's going to be going on right up after MHX Alter is Semiramis. And Semiramis, I think, is a strong servant that just doesn't quite have a purpose yet, because she has some strong things she's able to do. You know, she's able to have the double class thing going for the assassin caster thing. That's neat. The 30% battery does allow her to buster farm, but unfortunately she really wants to hit people with a big 50% buster defense down for 3 turns. So she's essentially more relegated to boss fights, where she does prevent, you know, people from losing their buff. She gives the buff removal resistance, which is very strong, but I just don't feel that we're kind of at a level where that's as needed as much. When it does come up, it's very nice, but it's just not something that you're seeing with such frequency that it's like, oh, you gotta have Semiramis because she locks this down. But if that starts to become more of a common thing and maybe they chuck her a buff here or two, I think she could definitely rise to the level of the other 2 that we just mentioned, where she kind of becomes one of those really good servants you consider. I mean, not to say that she's not good, it's just good in the way that's not really needed, if that makes sense. Same thing for Murasaki in a way, because again, Murasaki's an arts unit with a pulse, so she can loop if you need her to do that, and she really lays the smackdown on demonic people. But she's also got the interesting ability to give other people the power mod, so if you're going into a demonic fight, she can almost double as a DPS and a support, because she can turn your other guys into offensive servants as well by giving them power mod. Which at the worst, I mean, it turns your Castorias into pseudo DPSs if you're not going to bring another like single target or another AoE. At least they're getting the power mod bonus plus their own attack buff that they give to the entire party. So that's kind of funny, but I just don't see it as being very necessary. It's not entirely needed, but she is rather decent. She's pretty good. And then it's the same thing for Sei. Sei, I think, struggles a little bit to loop, but that's more of a quick problem and not really a Sei problem, because her kit is fine. I like what they've done with the kit. They've given her just a little bit of everything. She's got a little bit of survivability, a little bit of sustain, some immediate power, and then triple power mods, which you can't really go wrong with the triple power mods. But I do feel like the neutral alignment and the man alignment power mods that she does have get overlooked because she has the Shadow Servant power mod, which essentially says that if you're going to do free quest farming, you got to bring Sei, because she's just going to be good into all of those. You know, you can bring her and kind of have those always on lockdown, which is nice. It's just she doesn't loop super well because she only has 4 hits on a quick NP, where realistically you want to be in that like 7 to 10 range for your quick NPs. You really want to have high hits to take advantage of overkill. And with Advanced Quest now officially being on the NA version of the game, it's really good that she has this niche for free quests, because free quests are more valuable, because as we start to get more and more free quests and we start to get more and more of those CEs that buff the drop rate, it becomes less tedious to go in there, and Sei's more of a convenience unit in that aspect. But also don't forget that the neutral alignment and the manpower mod attributes are very good in and of themselves. You get some pretty good usage out of her. I mean, she's also just kind of hilariously quote-unquote immune to charm, because she has charm debuff resistance of 100%. Obviously, if they start lowering your debuff resistance like Kama does, just something that might kind of bypass that, but it is kind of funny that you can't really charm her or anything. That's a little funny. But realistically, I don't think Semiramis, Murasaki, or Sei are really worth going for. If you really like them, just know you'll get some value out of them, but I do think you'll probably get more value out of Nero Bride as a number one, because you can at least use her, if not as a DPS, a pseudo support type servant that you can use in different weird setups. I mean, also for 90++ that's coming out, just having the ability to donate your buffs to somebody else. If the first node is like 100k, you know, your Nero Bride might just be able to take it out and maybe doesn't even need her buffs, and she can pass them on to the other single target or another AoE servant that might need the extra NP gain, because maybe the next node is only 2 enemies, but that extra battery and extra NP gain is enough to help them get their battery back. You know, just little corner cases like that where you're gonna want to have abilities to get 90++ done, because, you know, it gives you the most bond, it gives you the most, you know, materials and all that good stuff. Her being really good in those theme setups, especially if you don't have, say, Kolya and Skye, you don't have Oberon, and you're really reliant on your art setups, or you just really want to use Nero, then it's very good for that. And then MHX Alter is just generally very good. You can kind of just bring her anywhere and she'll clap people up. But let me know if you're going to be summoning on this banner, because I know Bazette is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks for the actual Valentine's event proper, so I know most people are probably summoning for that banner. That's where they're saving all their Saint Quartz. I'm trying really hard to not summon on the Bazette banner and save for Trom when that comes out, because it's bringing Kriemhild, which, you know, is a white-haired wifey. I gotta get my grubby little mitts on that. And they're bringing out Ruler Moriarty, who I think is one of the cooler characters in, you know, the Fate proper, like in the entire series. I think he's very, very sick. But let me know what you're going to do in the comments down below, and if you do decide to summon, then I hope that this video brings you some good luck. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace late, guys.